fam, it's your girl May. Welcome to another episode of Bikini Talks with your girl May and T.
Well, first of all, we wanted to say hello, everyone. And we have a special guest here, Liz Carillo. Did I say that correctly?
Carillo.
And okay, great. Thank you for correcting me. I just never know if I'm saying it correctly or not. But we are so happy to have you here. And I know you have such a busy schedule. And I just wanted to just really thank you for making it. And you are actually a IFBB Pro who got her pro card last year, right?
Yes.
At North America.
And also thank you for having me. So this is my first time doing a podcast, but I'm so pumped because it's definitely on my list. I want to do as many of these as possible because I listen to podcasts all the time and I learn so much. And I feel like even while I'm doing dishes or something, it's how I stay, my brain stays in this hobby that has turned into a career for me, I feel like. So I love podcasts and I'm one day I'm going to do them. So when you guys asked me, I was so pumped. I'm like, for sure.
Yay, I'm so happy. Well, we are honored that you are here and so happy. So basically what we wanted to before we actually, start with any of the questions, we would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us about yourself and your background and how you got into fitness and competing.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll give the short version, then we can pick out where we want.
Yes.
However, so I started competing. To be honest, I think it was 2012. If you pull up the pictures, I'm sure you'll find 2012 pictures. And at the time, there's other aspects that led to me loving fitness and working out. And I feel at a very young age, I found a physical outlet in discomfort or things I was going through mentally, my parents getting divorced, just it became, I'm not going to cry. I'm such a crier. It just became it just became my tool after trying other things. The numbing didn't work. There's a certain high that working out gives you, right? I'm after the high. So I have an addiction to highs and it just became my high. However, and just helped me with my self-image, confidence, gave me confidence. And I was wow, I may not have the nicest shoes or whatever, I may not, my parents are immigrants. So there was a lot of lack of confidence, growing up, but I was really good at soccer. I found out I was really good at anything that required for me to use my body. So then it's transitioned into later on in life, in my 20s, I saw a girl that I cocktailed with, her body changed before my eyes. And I was just and she's actually a pro. So her name is Ashley Pfaff. And she has become such an important person in my life because she was just so cool about it. I would see her in the back, fish in Ziploc bag and just chomping down on this cold fish. And I was just what the fuck? How is my body changing like that, And then she started telling me about bodybuilding and competing and all of this. And I was I want to do that. I was dating a guy at the time that also worked where I worked. And it was I was just, I don't know. I was just sad. I was fucking sad. I was just sad and angry. And I was pissed. And I was just I saw her body look like that. And I was I'm going to show this. I don't know if I'm going to show, I don't know. I did it for all the wrong reasons, honestly. And it didn't matter though. I'm so glad that I did. And sometimes we do things for the wrong reasons, and through the journey of it and the learnings and the challenges. And we built this newfound confidence that all of a sudden it's this isn't even about you anymore. This is my journey. And so, I was who's your trainer? I was finally making decent money cocktailing. It was my first industry, more than decent money. I was let's buy a fucking trainer. I can afford this now. Let's do it. And her name's Noy Alexander. She was my first. She had that body, right? It was I knew I was never going to be super skinny, but I saw a woman's body that was built like that. And just I had no idea that you could look like that and walk with that kind of confidence and still be completely fucked up on the inside. Like, I've learned that like through this journey, I've learned that like you can literally look like a statue and still be like not okay on the inside. But for that time in my life, I needed that. I was like, I want to at least be able to walk into a room and not feel self-doubt, not feel like I'm not pretty enough, not feel like I'm not skinny enough. Like, I'm never going to be super skinny. But and then because I already had a love for a physical outlet for any kind of anxiety that I felt, then you lift weights and you're just like, what? And then the addiction, like that was just the addiction. Like, it's like this power that all of a sudden you feel like you could be crying in the car and you walk in there and you're like, I'm supposed to lift 20 pounds. I'm going to lift 25, you know? So it all started for all the wrong reasons, I think. And as I've transitioned it and like transformed and learned, it's different now, you know, like I do it differently. And I think that's why I'm finally a pro, is because I was in and out of NPC. Then I realized that I actually had like a pretty toxic relationship with food. So it was like a full onset eating disorder that I had no idea was an eating disorder. I was just like, oh my God, this is actually like something that's happening. It's not like it's not like, oops, this happened. It's like, no, this is continuing to happen. Like, this is something. And so I realized at that time that like, I wasn't going to, I just needed to step away from competing altogether. And I did. And I'd been told at that time that just my genetic build, like the shape of my body, would have been really great for a bikini. So I was getting away with the bare minimum without doing the actual work. I was just kind of doing the work, you know? And so that just left a lot of like void in me. And I think that's when competing can turn into something very toxic. Like, it's a very thin line when it comes to competing. It can be very empowering, and it could also push you through those toxic tendencies. So it's like, you've got to really do the inner work. And I feel like that's why I've become a pro. So about 6-7 years of like not competing, and somehow it found its way back into my life with my business. I was asked to coach 2 twins for NPC, and I just had no idea what I was doing. However, at the time, like, I was literally trying to figure out my life. And I'm like, I need to make money. So like, I'm going to figure this out. So I was like, and I let them know, I'm like, I've never done this before. Like, so if you hire me, like, this is what you're getting. And I think that just having those honest conversations and just being very transparent throughout my career, both bodybuilding and with my business, it allows you the space to like learn, because then people like know that you're putting in the time to do the research and, you know, and I've always been very honest about my knowledge and my abilities. And so with knowing very little and just doing the research, they placed 3rd and 4th in an NPC show. And then I was just kind of like, okay, if I'm going to continue to take on clients like this, because at the time I didn't really know my niche of like what it is I wanted to focus on with my career, which I realized they may overlap at certain points, but my career and my bodybuilding career and my business don't necessarily have to mirror each other, you know? And that's okay. So anyways, at that time I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And so I did a lot of research, and I've always believed, as a Pilates instructor, yoga instructor, like the only reason that I have ever, I think, because I have like, what is it called? Imposter syndrome, where I'm just like, why are you guys paying me to do this type of thing? Or like, why am I teaching 60 people? Or like, are you guys sure you want me to go teach a class for Alex Rodriguez and Jennifer Lopez? Like, do I really know what the fuck I'm doing? I don't know. So like, however, that pushes me to like, okay, well, at least let me learn really quick something, and this is what you're getting. However, if that happens again and again and again and again, now you're learning and you're learning and you're learning and you're learning, and you figure things out. And then like, so I looked at it as, okay, I'm going to do, they decided to do WBFF after that, because they, something about the WBFF drew them to it. And so these 2 clients, they're twins, they were like, Liz, you should do it with us. You should do it with us. And I was like, you know, I was working with a nutrition coach already, not because I wanted to compete, but because I just wanted to like figure out why I was always getting sick. Like, it was to repair my gut and like do all these things, you know? And so he had clients that competed, and I was just like, okay, sure. Like, and I told him, I'm like, but you know that it's going to be different for me to coach you while I'm not competing and when I am. And with this new, like, I was in this new place in my life. So I could have this different perspective and this different mentality about it. I was doing it to learn, not to escape, is when I think the momentum started to happen. I learned, I saw what my body could do every year in WBFF. So I think I did WBFF for like only a year and a half, but I did like 4 shows at that time. And the more that my body started to respond, the more that I healed my gut, the less sick I got, the more my business thrived, everything. I was like, then I was in a place where I could see, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do WBFF. Like, I'm in it for like that beauty of those muscles. And like, now I'm in it because it's like doing all these other things and overlapping into consistency and structure and honesty and challenges in my life. And I was like, I want NPC. And so then my girlfriend, Ashley Pfaff, her and her fiance own TLF Apparel. And so they were sponsoring the Janet Luke show in Florida. And did I say her name right? Oh my God. How do you say her name?
How do
you say it?
Did you do the Battle of the, is it Bodies or something? Is that what it
Battle
is?
of the Bodies, yeah.
Battle of the Bodies, yeah.
I think it's right, Layug. So that before you got it. So after it was right after I remember you doing WBFF, and then all of a sudden you switched over.
Yeah. Well,
so
and
you said that you did that for a year and a half. Is that right?
I think so. I think it was like a year and a half when I put it all together. They're very different. I learned a lot.
Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to know. And the other thing was, can you actually switch over? Because what I hear before.
So I'll address that question first.
Yeah.
When you become a WBFF pro, you're committing to them that you will not compete for any other bikini organization, or you will forfeit your pro card.
Okay.
So I don't know that. So now that I'm a pro in IFBB Pro, every time I say that, I'm like, God, that's so cool. Like, I'm still shook about it.
Hands. Hold on. Hands.
My pro card, I signed a thing. Thank you. That said, that I am no longer able to compete in any other bikini organizations where I forfeit my pro card. And I don't care because I don't want to compete anywhere else. Like, I'm just like, it's just, they're very different. Do you want me to talk? Do you have questions about that? Like the differences?
The differences, yeah, we do actually.
Okay. So basically what you're explaining is like, there's 2 types of federation, which is NPC and WBFF. They are both bodybuilding, but they are structured a little different. And you're going to explain what the differences between WBFF Federation and the NPC, which is where we belong, the bikini bodybuilding, right?
Correct. And again, NPC and IFBB, I guess most people know this, but it's like the parent of one. So they're still the same technically organization, but they're not. They're technically 2 different organizations, but under the same umbrella. When you're an amateur and then when you become a pro. WBFF is a completely different thing. So that means that their judging is in no way parallel to NPC or IFBB. They have categories like NPC and IFBB. So they have a bikini category, a wellness category, a fitness category. And then I'm not really knowledgeable or educated on the men's stuff. And again, it was a very short stint. So like, yeah, I could tell that my heart wasn't in it because it didn't make sense to me. And I think it's because it's not what I'm into. So they're more of like, if you want to be a model, right? So like,
right.
They're judging. So for example, bikini, all of the different classes and divisions in WBFF, there's like a gown part of it. So where you have gown and you walk and they definitely push for more modeling pictures. They definitely push like social media more. I feel like, and again, I'm saying this humbly. I'm not a sore loser or anything like that. If you were to tick all the boxes off, I feel that in all my shows, body-wise, I was definitely top 3 in all my shows after. However, that's not what they judge on. They judge on how you walk. I was not. That model walk is hard. I'm like, you are just like, it's very different. For me to get good at things, I require a certain amount of structure. And with their the way they walk and stuff, it's more free flow and like and that's just not me, necessarily, without maybe a couple of shots of tequila or something, but it's just not me.
It's very pageantry.
That's very pageantry, basically. Thank you. There you go. Very pageantry. And so when I continued to compete, like I didn't really want, like I was not good at creating a beautiful bikini. Like I would just go to my bikini girl and be like, something like this, like I didn't get it, And I just started to see what my body was doing. And I'm like, God, my body is responding so well. And I'm not being judged on that primarily. So like, I really want to see where this goes. And then it was my friend Ashley, she told me, she's like, girl, like nowadays you don't really need to get like a pro card necessarily, like to have, I feel, a career as someone that's a leader in the fitness industry. And that's what that's what I aspire to be, with my niche that I have found. So I was like, she's like, but however, she goes, you would crush it. Like if you had the right people behind you, the right coach, all these things, like you would crush it. And she goes, why don't you come do the Janet show? And I was just like, I just finished my last WBFF and I had like 6 months until the Janet. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go. I hit up my coach at the time and I was like, whatever it takes. I'm like, I just cannot embarrass my friends, because there definitely was that feeling of like, I don't want to do well in that show because my friends sponsored it, like I want to be like undeniably like, so I put a lot of pressure on myself for that show. Yeah. Like I wanted to know that like I would have gone that regardless, Yeah, so that's what led back to NPC. I got second place in that show. And then I decided I want to write my pro card. I'm like, this will be beneficial for my business. I'm going to learn so much. Like I am a doer. So in order for me to master something, I have to do it. Like I'm kind of the kind of person that like, I'm not going to hire a coach that can't do it for themselves kind of thing. And that's why changes in coaches are okay, because you outgrow each other, or they're no longer like you figure out something during that journey with that coach that like, well, actually I want to go in this direction, And so like, for me, like I knew that like I needed to at least master certain things with myself and acknowledge certain things. And that last Janet show, I definitely fell back into putting a lot of pressure on myself. I was like back into this like toxic place with food. But I caught it and I was just like, no, like, we're not going to do this like this. Like my husband has a lot to do with it, to be honest. Like I have a husband now. I just feel like such an adult. I have a husband now, and thank you. And we do want to have children. And so like, I just didn't want to build a human in my body where I'm still having issues with food, or like putting pressure on myself, or like so I decided I know that the reason I got my pro card is because I dealt with that shit. Like it wasn't just like the workouts. It was like having like honest conversations with my husband. It was, like having like honest conversations with myself every single day, seeing if I was getting my pro card as a priority over making sure that my mental health was good, And every time that I would hit like a place where like I could tell that was starting to happen, coming back to that main goal of like, I wanted to do something where like I didn't feel that imposter syndrome, right? And that would mean doing things the hard way. Like the hard way was going to be hard, And so I know that I did it the hard way this time. And so I got my pro card, and now I am just so like inspired by that. I've met amazing people in the sport. I think that every sport, every career, everything that we become a part of has their pros and their cons. For myself, because of the mentality that I now have, being in this sport, like there's so much value to it for anyone that wants to be part of it. There's just, you're good. If you truly continue to have those hard conversations with yourself and embrace change and embrace pivoting and embrace having to start over, like there's so much value to being a part of it. And I've met so many amazing women because of it. And I just like really value that. So yeah, that's me.
I love that. You did mention something about having a food disorder. So how did you figure that you had a food disorder, and how did you resolve that issue?
Well, I will say that for me personally, I think that it's still something that I'm resolving every single day. And I want to look at it like that, because an addiction is an addiction, right? So like you're an addict, like that's just where you're at. And I do believe that reminding yourself that that's an issue is a good way to make sure that it doesn't become an issue, I guess, So basically what was happening is, because my hormones weren't where they were supposed to be. Like, if it's one thing that I can do very well is work hard. I can work hard. The working out has never been an issue, only when I'm obviously not okay and energy-wise. However, the eating part of it, like I couldn't understand why. Like I had tried so many things, and I just didn't have the right education, the right guides. Like I think Freddie was definitely the start of my journey of like really kind of organizing everything that I had learned before then. So before Freddie, I was a Pilates instructor, and Gabriella Walters from Inferno Pilates in Vegas, she had this guy, Paul Tahineri. I cannot say his last name. But he's like the real food guy out here. And basically his mentality about food was like paleo/keto. So I had done that. I'd done keto, but even when I was doing keto, I was still like sneaking chocolates. So my thing is sugar. And I think a lot of things lead up to certain people having certain food habits. I'm Mexican. I was born in Mexico City. My parents immigrated to Las Vegas when I turned 5 years old. So up until that point, like the way that Mexican people eat is mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing. Like we would have like pan con cafecito after dinner, like before you go to bed. Like you're having bread with coffee. What? Like, no, what? So like things like, or like, we have this thing like we're tamales, but then you put it in a bolillo. So it's like bread with more bread with lard with like, and it's delicious. Like it is bomb. When we immigrated here, my dad worked at a Mexican seafood restaurant called La Barca. If you've ever watched Full Rush In, that restaurant in Full Rush In the beginning is the restaurant he worked at. Anyways, so my parents couldn't afford babysitters, so one of us would go with them because they worked at night and they worked during the day. They probably didn't work for like 5 or 4 hours of the day. And they were like feeding us and making sure we did our homework and not forgetting Spanish. Like they are incredible people. However, one of us would each go. So I would go with my dad because like I love food. Like I didn't know this, but apparently I was eating lengua, like menudo, and like lengua tacos. My dad's like, you would sit down and you would just like, I want tacos. Or like I love oysters. He's like, I would just open a dozen oysters for you. Like, and people would just be mind blown that you're like 7 years old just eating this kind of food. Like, I love all food. When people say they have a sweet tooth, or like, no, like I love food.
I think a lot of people do have that problem, like in terms of eating wise. If you're a competitor, you're in a strict diet. So, but when you're off and in your background and what you're used to, it always comes back because that's what you're used to. And
it's at a genetic, and also like your hormones now. So now, what Freddie taught me was, first of all, when I was a baby in Mexico City, I was in the hospital for a few months after I was born because I guess I had really bad ear infections and acid reflux. Guess what? They're connected. Like your 80% of your immune system is in your gut, right? 80%. So if your gut is messed up, like your other stuff is going to be messed up. So what happened was they were in order to treat the ear infection and the acid reflux, they were shooting me up with penicillin, like as a baby.
Oh, shoot.
That's what that does to your gut, right? So like that, and then I didn't know this, but like genetically, like my mom's side of the family, high cholesterol, bad cholesterol. I love red meat. I was eating lengua tacos like every day. Like what? Like as
that sounds good though.
So like all of these things, like I abused alcohol when my parents got divorced. Like when I was very young, like I'm talking like 14 years old, like abused alcohol. Like I was like beer bonging Jose Cuervo. Like it was not okay. I am blessed in so many ways because I know that whatever was meant for me is meant for me, because I had like so much love for my family that somehow I found my way out of these things. However, the physical things that happened to my body happened. So now I had an ulcer when I was 17. And then as I'm getting older, now I'm like, you know, I'm no longer in high school where I could go and play soccer and come home. And I would make myself these like avocado sandwiches where I would take like a piece of bread, like just regular white bread, and like a whole avocado. I put half in one, I'd smash it, and then I'd do another one, and then I would pour sour cream all over it. And I would eat that, and I would take a nap, and then my brother and I would go do karate. Like, so yes, there is. So I clearly food is something about, I truly believe something about like with my, maybe like one day I woke up at night and my dad wasn't there, nobody was home. I had like this like anxiety of like abandonment or like being in a house by myself. And I know something happened. And as children, we tend to block out trauma, and I'm okay with that. And I embrace that. I'm like, that's cool. Like, hey, we all have our journeys, whatever. That doesn't mean it takes a hold over you or that it masters you. I feel like the more we acknowledge and embrace things, the less control they have over you. I'm more than willing to talk about my issues with food, because the more people that know about it, the more people that if I start to go astray may start to see signs. Like if I'm telling you that I'm going to go get gas and it takes me an hour, question it, please. Like, I don't know, it doesn't take an hour to get gas, you know? So basically like what was happening is I put so much, let me rewind to all that. So I think food, something happened with me with food, and I just love food and it's delicious, and my parents make delicious food. So whatever. As I started to put more pressure on myself, getting older, like the way I look, and in high school, it was like I was curvier than all the girls. Now I know that like that's a beautiful thing. I didn't know that then. My parents immigrated here. I had a lot of like confidence issues, you know, like I felt different. Like, and when I would go to Mexico, I didn't really feel like I belonged there either, because like I'd been gone for so long. My cousin would mention my accent, like when I spoke Spanish. It was like this weird place of like, you know, and of course, as women, it's been proven that we already start off. I mean, I listen to the Huberman podcast a lot. So all of these things are usually I learn there. But we start off at a different baseline than men for anxiety and like dealing with stress, because just of how like our biology is. And so that just went to food. For me, with competing though, it was like, it didn't matter how hard I worked. I just felt like this sugar, like the wanting sugar. I could control everything else. I can control bread, but bread is sugar, right? So I felt like I didn't need certain, like I didn't want ice cream, but like I needed at least like bread or something, like these crazy like urges to just eat. And it was like, it wasn't even hunger. Like I wouldn't call it hunger. It was, I need this and I need this now. And if I have this, I'll feel better. Right. So what I was doing, because side note, I hate throwing up. I don't know where that comes from. It's like, when I become such a baby, when it comes to throwing up, like I don't like the feeling. It's not something I feel like, I just get me out of that moment, you know? So I've never eaten and purged food. What I was doing was I was chewing up food and spitting it out. So at first it started off as like, oh my God, I can't control it. Have a quick pee. Oh no, I regret that. That was an accident, and spit it out. Like it was like, and then go to bed, whatever, like a week goes by, you know? And then it was like more things. Cause again, I was in a different place, right? I wasn't in a place where I felt supported and loved. I wasn't in a place where I truly had dealt with my shit and spoken it out loud. I wasn't in a place where I had healed my relationship with my dad. So anytime any of these things would come up in my life, it was like, well, my body needs to look a certain way because everybody knows I'm doing a show, but I'm just like so overwhelmed right now. And like, I hadn't dealt with those things. It's not that I've learned how to deal with overwhelming things better. It's that I deal with them. Like I just deal with them. Like I've dealt with the thing with my dad, you know, I've dealt with all these things, and I will say my husband played such a huge role in this, because I found someone who I could have a relationship with where I wasn't being depleted mentally, emotionally, and physically due to the relationship. Like I wasn't like up at 2 a.m. crying, or like, you know, I wasn't like feeling all of this like heartache all the time. And I'm not saying I didn't do that to myself. I'm sure I gravitated towards those type of toxic relationships. I was with someone where like they just added to my life. Like he just adds so much, like he makes me laugh. He adds laughter to my life. He checks things like air filters, you know, that I don't think about. He adds to my health. Like, you know, he helps me. Like, he just adds to my life. And so when you have someone that's just adding, all of a sudden now you're like, oh shit, I'm the problem. Then you realize you're reacting to things a certain way, or that you're just continue to get the same result without setting up a better path, like making better habits, like, you know. And so now I had someone that I could be very honest about, like about the eating thing, because I felt safe with him. So now you have someone that you can share this with, and it's no longer just inside of you, that is there with you, supporting you 24. So I'm very blessed in that. I continue to say it. Like, I don't take for granted at all the people that have come into my life. And it all started with my husband. Like,
I'm glad that you found an outlet to actually have that and share that with, because, you know, having an outlet is really also, it's almost like it's a reflection. You get to see and face what you're actually dealing with. And when you're actually dealing with something, it's more of a realization. It's like, I need to take care of this so I can actually, you know, get rid of this hurdle and face the hurdles and actually find a resolution to whatever you're dealing with. And that was a lot of things. And, you know, it's really brave of you to like face those, because it's not easy. A lot of people will just like, hey, I have an issue here. I don't want to talk about it. But you're just like really brave in having to face that. And I commend you for that, because
thank you,
not
Teresa.
a lot of people have that courage to move on and get to where you are. And so
can I say this?
That's up to you.
I feel like some people listening, they're like, well, I'm not that brave. I don't have that courage. Thank you for that compliment. However, I will say this. Whenever I have made huge changes in my life, for me, it's been because there's no other thing left to do. Like I something has, unfortunately, and I like drastic, like DUIs, you know, like literally not having a place to live. Like I have taken, like things have gone to a point.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. Like he's going to continue to be an asshole. You're doing this to yourself. Like you literally don't have money anymore because you're more focused on this relationship, and like you just don't, or you're in jail now because you got a DUI because, you know, this happened or whatever, because you were sad. If this person is like leading you to, not it's their fault, but like if you continue to drink and drive drunk, eventually you're going to get a DUI, especially if you're upset and crying while doing it. So it's like, I have no choice. Like I literally have to pay lawyer fees now. Like I don't have time to deal with this toxic relationship. I can't, I'll be in jail. Like, so things have happened in my life where like, however, through being forced into something like that, where it's either sink or swim, it's every time I swim, I will say, I'm like, fuck, Liz, what were you thinking? Like, you're such a badass bitch. Like, what were you doing with him? Like, look at what you just got yourself out of. You know, like, look at the work you just put in. Like, you know, I constantly, like, in the beginning, I would just, like, stare at my husband and start crying because I'm a crier. And I'd be like, oh, like, I just cannot believe that, like, sometimes I still feel like I don't deserve him. And, like, that's something that now into my pro career, it's a constant conversation that I have. Like when you feel like you don't deserve something, it's because there's something that you're probably doing to not 100% of your ability at that moment. You know, so if I feel like I don't deserve my husband, then what things am I doing or not doing that I'm feeling that way? Because he's not making me feel that way. But you only can know that if you're with somebody that doesn't make you feel that way on purpose, you know, or that doesn't do things to like trigger you or whatever, you know? So my relationship with him has given me that space to like look at things and be like, okay, if I'm feeling a certain way, like that's internal. I'm creating that. I'm creating that dream. I'm creating that reality. So what is it that I'm not doing 100%? When I compete now, right? I have this newfound peace when I compete. It doesn't mean I'm not nervous. I'm still nervous. And my goal as I move forward in my career is to, you know, acknowledge those things and be like, okay, you're nervous when you go to pose. Well, then do the fucking work. Like, do the work. Like, pose every single day and do the work, you know? So yes, it is. I have built bravery. Like, the bravery continues to build like a callus because of these experiences. But I will say for anyone listening, like, sometimes it's just about making a choice. Like, do you want to sink or swim? Like, and sometimes like it's life or death type of thing. And like, you don't have to be brave to do that, but you can build bravery through that. So just maybe not putting yourself at the result of things, but at the effect. Like, things are going to happen that are really shitty where you're just dealt a bad card. But if you kind of sit there and like figure out how you are to blame just a little bit, I truly believe that taking some kind of accountability, it could be a big thing, big part of it that you were accountable for it, or a tiny bit. But if you can just make yourself you take some power back, and that power allows you to be like, okay, well, this is how I'm going to get out of this, you know? And I have done trainings like NLP trainings, and I've read books that I think definitely just through time have like planted that seed in my head that when it came time to make those choices, those books that I read or that whatever course that course that I took, like somehow like it sneaks in and it's like, and you're like, oh shit, I did. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Well, here we go. You know? So yeah. So I feel like if you're just like, if you feel like you're not brave enough or you don't have that courage, keep reading, keep like listening to these type of podcasts that create this world around you where this happens often, where it's not the
we have a title now for our show. It's going to be Just Keep Swimming, just like what, you know, finding
just keep swimming, or just turn around on your back. If you're at a point right now where you just need to float for a second, just float, but just don't you know, floating can mean, you know, you're packing your shit up at 1:30 a.m. from this guy that you thought you were going to build a life with. And now you have no idea what you're going to do because they told you to quit your job cocktailing because like it wasn't good for their image. And now you're just like, wait, what? And like, you're crying hysterically, but you're still packing your shit, right? You can cry while you do it. You can cry while you move forward. Moving forward doesn't mean it's going to be pretty. Like, I honestly, I think back now at how many people probably saw me cry. I would be like getting my dog, like a dog groomed because it wasn't my dog. And I'd just be like crying, like paying the lady. Like, and I'm just like, God, I look back now and I definitely, wow. Yeah. Like, I'm just like, wow. But thank you for that compliment.
You know, and I commend you for all of that because yeah, we all get into a situation where it's like you don't actually have a choice. But you know, like even that step alone, you know, making that decision it's a hard leap, you know, because it's either you don't or you don't, you do or you don't, right? But you know, like really appreciate you sharing your life and how you got into like this journey of getting into NPC and finally getting your pro card. Let's just say like now that you actually have your pro card, what's the next step for you? And what would be now that you're pro?
So I love my team. I'm with Fit Body Fusion. Jamie, like, I mean, if you guys ever want to have another podcast, I can give you guys like a whole thing of like nationals. I switched coaches after being with Freddie for 3 years. 3 days before nationals in July.
Oh,
I was
really?
I placed last call outs. Like there was like I was like second, or like there was like the last call outs, but they put me in the middle. And Jamie was like, see, that's good. They at least put you in the middle. So I was the best of the last. Within like from July, I started with Jamie. By September, I got my pro card. I have learned so much, and I have such an appreciation for her as a person. Like, let me tell you, this is a woman that needs to be interviewed. Like, she is just, and she is so, I mean, she's been in the game since before there was a bikini category, you know? And so she just saw this potential in me. And it's so funny because after I got my pro card, she was like, I told her, like, when we had our first conversation, I knew within 20, like, we had a 20-minute conversation. I'm like, she gets what I want. My husband and I had talked about how I wanted to get my pro card before we decided to have children. He has a vasectomy, so we get to do IUI. And so it's very planned. We can very much plan it. And he's like, all right, you get your pro card. And then at first it was like, just get my pro card. That's all I want. And I had certain reasons why I wanted to do it. And as I went through my journey, those reasons changed and what I want to do with it changed. So the goal is we got the pro card and I told Jamie all this. I'm like, I want my pro card. And then I didn't tell her though, that after my pro card, that was it. Okay. I said, and then my husband and I want to get pregnant. And then after that, we'll take it from there or whatever. But I'm like, but I will do whatever it takes to get my pro card. So I got my pro card way faster than I don't know. She knew. She told me, she's like, no, I knew. And Amy told me, because at this point, Jamie isn't really taking on like all competitors. She's built a beautiful team of people who like she has nurtured and has cultivated her style. But she refers competitors usually to other coaches. And because of where my body was, where I had taken it with Freddie, she saw potential in me, and I think I honestly just cried to her. I was like, and that's a whole nother podcast of like what happened that led to that, because I was with somebody for 3 years and then made a last minute decision. So that just goes, I mean, there's stuff happens.
It's hard to just drop somebody just like that. I mean, just not like that, but you know what I mean? If people say it's easy, you can just drop somebody just like that.
It was very hard. That was
draining.
And you build a relationship, so it's not like, you don't have...
He taught me so much. He taught me, that man taught me so much. It's just, like I said, sometimes you outgrow people. And it's okay. It's okay to acknowledge. Like, through that prep until July, I saw what my body could do when I really did the work. And I just felt like I wasn't, his plate was a little too full to take on that kind of commitment that I had at that moment. And it's not his fault, because up until that point, I hadn't been committed like that because I hadn't done the work. And then once I did the work, I was like, oh, I'm on a different level right now. Like, and I'm ready. Like, I'm ready for this now. And I'm 36. So like, my husband and I are like, okay, like we're going to do this within this time, timelines. And so after I got my pro card with Jamie, she was just like, I told her, I was like, I want to have children, but I'll do a few more pro shows. So I did a pro debut, and then I did 3 pro shows after I got my pro card. And I wanted to do more. I was like, I wanted to do more. And she's like, because I placed top 10. So I'm very humbled when I say that, but I placed top 10 in my first 2 pro shows, and I won my first pro overall in Masters. I'd been a pro for like not even a month. So my body was responding. Like, I'm working with a hormone specialist now. Like, a lot of that eating disorder stuff was actually because my hormones were so out of whack. It almost got to a point where it's like I was getting frustrated because I'm like, I'm doing the work, like I'm healing my head, like my emotions. I have a good relationship with my dad now. Look at my awesome husband. Like, I have all the, what is happening? Why do I still want this sugar? Like, it's freaking crack or something. I don't know. And it had to do with my hormones. So when I started with Jamie, I also started with a hormone specialist, Joanna, who I love. And we did a lot of work in that area. And so with that being said, Jamie was like, I just found you. Like, oh, now you're going to go make babies. So And I even tried to talk my husband into doing Hawaii, but we were like, he was like, and it's true when you have someone that supports you like that, like you want to give them that support back. So I was like, you know what? And now I have my niche. So I'm actually specializing in pronatal fitness. I absolutely love, 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 love training women that are getting ready to get pregnant or that are pregnant or have just been done getting pregnant. I am obsessed with it. It is crazy what the women's body does. I have been so fortunate to have a lot of my clients. It was actually my clients that inspired me to it because I had a couple clients get like out of nowhere pregnant and they wanted to continue training because they had done all of this like work and were getting these results. And I was like, wait a minute, like I need to educate myself on this. Like I know this matters. I don't know how, but I know it matters. Because I do have my massage therapist license. So even with therapy, it matters. So it's got to matter with fitness and nutrition and everything. And like, I know that it's possible to like look a certain way and get pregnant and then look even better. You know, it's just, I wanted to learn and that's what's also led me to learn more about hormones and our periods. Like I'm so like, I just want to have all the period talk. Like I want to talk about periods. How it affects your training. And I just like want all that talk. So I found my niche just through competing in this journey and like everything. And so now it's hard for me sometimes to, even though I have 3 different pronatal certifications
I was watching your story and I saw that you were getting certified.
I want to get them all.
So let me throw this out there. So I'm going to let you promote yourself right now. So let everybody know what you do and where they can find you so that they can reach out. And if they need any help with their hormones, any prenatal stuff,
yes.
I'm a trainer.
So, thank you. Okay. So basically right now I have my clients that are like bodybuilding clients and certain clients. However, for new clients, I'm only taking on pronatal clients. Now pronatal, even though the word pro means while pregnant, technically it's before being pregnant, while pregnant, and after pregnancy, right? I am very much invested and passionate about this. So trust me when I say that I have put in the work and I will continue to put in the work. Like I want to get every certification out there, even if they give you the same information, because the more you hear it or you can see what's different. I have a background in Pilates and yoga. And so what Pilates and yoga have done for me with my bodybuilding career is that's why I can lift heavy, like because I do certain breathing that I learned in Pilates that wasn't necessarily taught to me by my trainers. It was something that like I'm like, oh, this works with this, you know. So it all overlaps into pronatal training. You can still lift heavy. Like I told Jamie, I'm like, I am going to build my shoulders while I'm pregnant. Watch me, like, and she's like, I know you can, and I'm like, here I go. So you know, I've been doing a lot of like isometric holding to help make sure that my tendons and ligaments are like super strong because while you're pregnant, the relaxin hormone kicks in and that's why it's dangerous. It's not that it's dangerous, it's that you're just like bendy and stuff. And so you need to make sure that that's something that you acknowledge. So pronatal fitness, that's what I specialize in. I am taking on pronatal clients. I just don't know how many right now. I do have a little bit of a wait list, but I will take on as many as I can because I just love doing that. I train in person here in Las Vegas. I have a gym that my husband and I have built out where I have picked equipment specifically because of certain things, not only building you, but it helps with like making sure that your rehab is there as well. Meaning like if any low back pain, I love the machines I have picked out. I also take online clients. I take all clients. I am pretty much have built my business in a style of learning, taking everything that I love from all of the coaches that I have hired. So not only have I invested as far as like certifications, massage school, or we did cadaver labs, but like I have hired a lot of coaches. Like if I always tell my mom, I'm like, I may have not gone to college, but I definitely spent just as much learning. So, and that's what it takes. You know, you just gotta like completely invest into it. And so I take on online clients for all phases. I will refer people that are looking to compete over to Fit Body Fusion because that's a whole different level of not necessarily like the programming, or it's just, I feel like when, like, I would only take on competing clients when I feel that I'm at a place where I'm going to make somebody feel the way Jamie makes me feel. And I'm still learning. So she makes me feel like I have been so at peace during my shows. Everything was handled. She guides you about everything, the suits that you're wearing. Like, she's honest, her kindness behind it. Like, not only your nutrition, but like she sends you to the right people for like hormone health. Like, she understands posing, like, and until I feel like, and she's put in the years, you know, she's been in the game since before there was even a bikini category. So once I feel like I'm there, then I'll maybe venture into that. But for right now, I am just so passionate about pronatal fitness. I am going to continue to build my business. I'm actually shooting videos next weekend. I'm going to launch a pronatal app through Playbook. Software, Playbook, where it's going to basically guide women before pregnancy and through all their entire pregnancy, after pregnancy, and even like, I think I'm going to call it something like, what was I going to call? Oh, pregnant and strong and bikini mom bod or something. I don't know. We were like if you guys have any good ideas, I'll take any ideas. I'm not like, we're throwing things around. Like, so far, that's kind of the gist. However, that's what we're filming that. And then my goal is to film as I'm pregnant. So to like be the videos, because then I'll feel like, okay, I've lived it, you know, like I just feel weird still a little bit. Like, like I feel weird even though I know I've read the books and I understand the breathing, like I feel weird telling someone that's 8 months pregnant, like, hey, you got this, you know, like, or like you can absolutely do that. I mean, thank God that all the certifications I've gotten are so great because they absolutely did have this. It was so beneficial to them. It helped with their birthing. It helps with their low back pain. Like, they are so grateful for the training. However, I will feel like, I just like to be very, very confident in when I start to guide people, you know, because I feel like that's a huge responsibility, and like you could literally be saving someone's life. And I know that I have felt that way about people that have guided me, and so I don't take it lightly. So I just want to be pregnant in doing it, you know? So we'll do that. And then Jamie and I'm still with Fit Body Fusion. I check in with Jamie every Friday. I am going to check in with her pregnant. I want to inspire other women that go through their pregnancy to not only like love their bodies at every phase, but to know that they too can compete on stage. You know, I am excited to take in all the feedback, and my goal is to be on the Olympia stage one day.
Yes.
And I know that it is possible. Awesome. I know that it would be a disgrace to my genetics to not put in the work and to see where the work takes me, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be there when you're on the Olympian stage, be like,
you're going to be a pro.
But hey, Liz, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. We appreciate all the information and sharing your journey with everybody else, because I'm sure other people are going through the same thing. And, you know, just like with life, you know, if somebody goes through it, they can relate and they'll be like, damn, that's cool, because I'm going through the same thing. That's what I'm going to do. So thank you for sharing and being real. I love it. And then I'll see you around. I always see you.
Let's all together. I get to meet you again. Maybe not on stage, but you know, like.
Wait, Teresa, just do you live out here?
Like, you know,
live in Vegas?
Huh?
Teresa, do you live in Vegas?
No, I'm in LA.
Okay,
I'm in LA.
Next time you come out here, the three of us can get a workout in on my gym.
Yeah, let's go.
Absolutely.
That's rhino squat. It's a rhino squat, right? The one that you have in your girl. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, I want one of those. I actually was looking forward for my gym. Then I was like, okay, a little pricey. Okay, maybe not.
That's expensive. All right, ladies.
All right, bye.
Bye.